Hello and welcome to Watching Worst Films. My name is Jericho Reed and with me, Kyle Szymanski.
Hello.
So we were previously the podcast which watched every Razzie Worst Picture winner. We have since finished that. And as we just sit here twiddling our thumbs until we are brought another winner, we have been covering an assortment of oddities. And this week you are joining us for Pat Chat as we have watched the much anticipated 1993 picture. It's Pat. 1994. Sorry, I got it wrong.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the years so much.
Yes.
What is 1993 and what is 1994? But it is, of course, the 1994 film It's Pat.
It's Pat.
Which long-time listeners will know we have spoken a lot about on the show, haven't we?
Yes.
Teased it. It's a multi-Razzie nominee, as it was nominated for... It was nominated for 5 awards at the Razzies, lost all of them to Showgirls, and it was also nominated at the Stinkers, where again, lost to Showgirls. Mm-hmm. However, Julia Sweeney did win Worst Actress. So I think, without wanting to jump the gun too much, I think that is probably...
I will say one weird thing, though.
Yeah.
That I could be wrong here. This could be you. This is the 16th Golden Raspberry Awards it was nominated for. Which was same here with 1996.
No.
The 16th Golden Raspberries was the worst.
They were held on... Yeah. Without wanting to jump ahead of things too much, I think Julia Sweeney is probably worse than Elizabeth Berkley.
Of course, absolutely. Right?
She had to learn to dance.
Yeah. And I actually like Julia Sweeney for what it's worth.
Yeah.
I will get out of the way. I like her on SNL and things, but yeah, no, 100%.
Okay, right, let's get into this.
Let's get into
So, what was your history with Pat?
Oh, fucking too much. So, as I've covered on the last podcast I don't think I like SNL anymore, actually. I think I've changed. I first seen Pat through the sketches. Julia Sweeney joins in early 90s alongside the Brat Pack of Sandler and Rob Schneider, David Spade, etc. And it's her breakout. Pretty much the only really Julia Sweeney sketch I instantly remember.
Yeah.
It sticks out in these episodes because they're fun seasons, and it's like, there's the Pat moment. I've said to you as well, it could be wrong. There could only be 8 sketches, but in my head, it's every fucking episode, and it's like 10 minutes long, and I just want to die. So I hate Pat the sketch. I think it's a one joke, one note, smirky, funny first time round maybe. 10th time, not at all. I did see the movie when I was going through that SNL craze period, like I said, probably my early 20s. I binged what I thought was all the movies. I've since missed 2, and It's Pat was my least favourite at the time.
Yeah.
So going back now, 15 years later, this is refreshing. Haven't seen the sketches in about the same time as well, so
yeah,
it's all coming back. What about you?
So I have seen It's Pat. During the pandemic, me and my family were doing the Filmageddon film quiz. We were like a bunch of people that did film quizzes at the Prince Charles in London. And I think the round might have been SNL films or something.
Okay.
And they played like a clip from It's Pat. And my dad was like, "Oh, hello. This looks interesting." And so,
Charles Rocket.
well, when he listens to this, I'll answer that. And I think he downloaded it. I think we might have watched it for his birthday or something. So I watched it within the past couple of years, and I liked it. Yeah. As I will have said on this podcast, gone on the record, I think this is... maybe, if not a good movie, an entertaining movie. So I'm an It's Pat truther. And so that's really my history, my relationship with the film. Okay, on a budget of $8 million, how much do you think this made?
I don't know the exact number.
Yeah.
But I know it was so low it gets pulled from theaters. That's my only thing I know. I don't know if it's opening weekend or first week.
Yeah.
But it gets pulled instantly. It does so bad. So under $1 million, obviously. I don't have a number. It's going to be low. What is the number?
Well, give me a number, then I'll...
500,000. I don't know.
That's way too high. 60,000.
Here we go.
60,822. You know, if they're counting the 2, that is low.
That's individual
That's
sales,
Julia Sweeney being like, no, wait, there was another ticket here within the back of the sofa. Put that one in the pile too.
And if you actually break that down, I don't know what the average ticket price was in 1994 in America. but I'm going to assume that is very, very, very low.
The film opened in only 3 cities,
There you go.
33 theatres. Its
There you
total
go.
gross was 60,822. As a result, the film was pulled from theatres after its opening weekend. That is bleak. I like to think it would have had longer legs if they'd kept it running. The audience just needed positive word of mouth. So those 3 cities, LA, New York, where else?
No idea.
Where's Julia Sweeney from? She is from
Washington.
Spokane. Okay.
Spokane,
So
Washington.
yeah, Seattle. I'm gonna say is this it. Okay, so let's get into it. So if you are unfamiliar with the titular Pat, they are an SNL character who first came to rise as being a sketch show character, and Pat's entire deal is that they are androgynous.
Yes, you do not know what the gender is. That's the joke.
Yep.
Right, I'm going to tell you now, that is the whole joke. I know it's a Julia Sweeney creation. Mm-hmm. I know it's her full character. I could be wrong, but I believe it was just, I need a character to get on the show.
Well, do you want to hear some IMDb trivia?
Well, let me see. I think it's very much a boys' club. Like with the Brat Pack, it's Sweeney's thing to get shown and get time by herself.
Yeah.
That's my theory. What?
Well, you've got the book Live from
Yeah, I
New
do.
York there lying open, and I can tell you haven't read it because in the book Live from New York, An Uncensored History of Saturday Night Live, Julia Sweeney explains that she had created the character of Pat while she was performing as part of the Groundlings, and also played the character during her audition for Saturday Night Live. The mannerisms and body language were based on a male co-worker she met while working as an accountant. When she first tested it out as an impression, some friends told her it was good, but she didn't seem very convincing as a man.
Yeah.
That's when she came up with the gimmick for the character to have Pat's gender be a complete mystery
There
to
you go.
all others. Pat made their debut in the final sketch of John Goodman / Faith No More, in which the only other cast member was
Donna?
Kevin Nealon.
Kevin Nealon, who I thought was going to be in this movie. Kevin Nealon doesn't turn down a sketch.
But when Roseanne Barr hosted later in the season, Barr specifically wanted to do a sketch with Pat. So Sweeney wrote a sketch together with Christine Zander, and when she entered as Pat, she received unexpected applause from the audience, which she remembers as one of the best moments of her life.
And I still think some of my theories right, though, because she was put on in the death slot there,
Yeah.
which is just before the credits. That's where it's called the writer's piece usually. It's one of the weirder things.
Yeah.
Things that don't go down, you stick them right at the end.
Yeah.
So she was very obviously stuck at the end.
Yeah.
Again, I do believe that it was probably a boys' club.
Yeah.
I've got something. It's a Groundlings character. It's already been worked
Yeah.
on. Lawrence went, well, it's already ready.
The people love Pat.
It's ready to
It's
go.
fully
Yeah,
formed. They're
let's
fully
put it,
formed.
put it out there. When I first seen Pat, linking it to our previous episode a little bit, I thought it was a riff on Al Franken. Right, and I'm not joking, right? I'm not actually fucking joking. Because there's like 1993 Al Franken as well with the curly hair,
Yeah,
the
yeah, I can
glasses,
see it, I can see
Stumpy. Like I thought it was just a little riff that you're not writing for me, so I'm gonna have a little fucking jab. Just when I first seen it, obviously that's not the case.
So do we want to talk through the design of Pat? So you've kind of said a bit there. Pat has curly hair.
Al Franken in a fat suit is what I would. Inflatable.
There's
the
more
padding.
to it. There's the eyebrows.
There is.
So Pat has like big, thick eyebrows, big glasses, fat suit, padded suit. Not like sumo fat, but
No,
just
no.
like sort of
But-
bulky,
but
pillowy.
padded, yeah, like-
pillowy.
You're not going for fat. You're going for padded.
And why does Pat wear that shirt with like the double mastectomy scars?
I think that's just to play up the.
Okay,
Why would you have that if you're a man? Kind of. I don't know.
It's
just-
weird,
'cause
yeah.
one
Because it's like kind of like a clock,
But that's one
yeah.
of Pat's biggest mannerisms. Is kind of like rubbing the chest and
Yeah.
or the like nipple area. So I don't know. I actually I'm not.
Yeah.
I might be the expert, but not on Pat.
Okay, we can segue this into Pat's like voice and mannerisms because it's an incredibly annoying performance.
Very annoying, and it's designed to be annoying.
Yeah. So Julia Sweeney, I can't do the Pat voice. Can you do the Pat voice?
I'm not on command.
Yeah, she does a sort of annoying, whiny, like, I'm Pat. And the physicality, there's a lot of like gurning
A
towards
lot of
camera.
gurning,
Yeah. And then, like you said, carries the hands sort of a bit like T-Rex arms, kind of like, very like chest region. and then does a lot of kind of like, who, me? To camera.
It's very Groundlings. It's very state, like I'm going to see a stand up on a stage. It's not, this is
improv groups around the world are just cursing like, damn it, why didn't I pitch my part?
Well, this is why.
It's Alex could have been a...
This is why.
I could have grossed $60,000 at the box office. Okay, so there you go, audience. You know Pat, and so let's get into the film. So Pat begins with some voiceover narration, and it's like quite introspective of like, well, what makes what impression am I doing here? Play with your cock and ball. Hello. What makes a person a person? Blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, this is very Tree of Life, because we start off with Pat in the birth canal, and we get a POV shot of Pat being born, which the Russo brothers would crib years later when they had a POV shot from Tom Holland's asshole. And so it's your classic movie formula of we follow the character from cradle to wherever Pat ends up. Of we get Pat being born, and the doctor's like, congratulations, you've just given birth to a healthy baby. And then someone's like, doctor, call on line 1. And he's like, well, I gotta go. And Pat's mother is like, wait, doctor, tell me what it is. He's like, there's no time for that, have a look for yourself. And the mother is like, it's Pat. And then we leap ahead to Pat at school. I think we get a musical number here.
It's a little montage. It's
we get the credits. We get the credits with the gender and the who is that?
Oh God, yeah, no. With the 4 cast members. that was my give up when the credits are rolling. We're seeing the cast.
And your expectations were high. You were rubbing your hands with glee. Who are we gonna get?
There's Kevin
Carvey,
Nealon,
Harmon, who you got?
I'll take a Schneider.
And then you're like, oh,
there's 4.
Oh, yeah.
There's 4 cast in the entire film. That makes me so excited. A couple of names though. There was a name I forgot. My beloved Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall is in this. I don't love him in it. Spoilers, but it was nice to see it. It was something to get excited for.
Something to cling to.
And one of my few memories of this film was Charles Rocket. And I had to ask you, is that right? I've not conflated it with some other film as well. So once that was confirmed, I was happy.
Yeah, Rocket confirmed. Ready for launch. And then do you want to say the final name?
No, you can.
Well,
it's coming back.
Enemy of the state, Kathy Griffin, the woman responsible for traumatizing Baron Trump.
Holding the decapitated heads.
Yeah, Kathy Griffin is in this playing herself.
Head. Yeah, she is. Yeah. It's because she can't play someone else with a different name. It gets too confusing. It's the Mr. Thompson.
When I say hello, Kathy, and press down on your foot. And so, other things from the credits. So this was screenplay by Julia Sweeney, Jim Emerson, and Stephen Hibbert. So we discussed these.
Well, that's it. I mean, I got excited with the right, especially an SNL film. You know, I was talking to you before, we watched this about Bonnie and Terry Turner writing Wayne's World, and then going on to create Third Rock from the Sun, great writers. You can see what SNL writers kind of translate to the movies with MacGruber and the Lonely Island team. So when these 3 came up, I was like, I know Sweeney, but I don't know the other 2, which is concerning. I want Tim Henley's name to appear here, and it's not. It's worrying me.
Yeah. Okay, so looking them up on IMDb, Stephen Hibbert has had a very interesting career in that he's done uncredited script work on essentially every movie Mike Myers has ever made, except The Love Guru. So we start off with script revisions uncredited on Austin Powers 1 and 2. We then get Shrek. We then get Austin Powers 3. We then get Cat in the Hat, and then Shrek 2 and 3. But the thing I'm most interested in is he also has 16 screen credits, most notable being in 1994, as well as it's Pat, he also went off and was the Gimp in Pulp Fiction.
One of many crossovers between Pulp Fiction and Pat.
So let's talk about this now, because we'll speak about the other uncredited writers on this film. So these are the three credited writers, but infamously, a certain Quentin Tarantino did work on its path.
Yes. So the three crossovers have now, of course, Stephen Hibbert, Julia Sweeney, and Quentin Tarantino,
Yeah.
all in the same year,
Yeah.
work on two very radically different products.
One of the most beloved films in cinema history and Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, mad. Yeah, so I don't know if this was where I did a little bit of Googling during the film, but I was trying to find more about the Sweeney-Tarantino friendship.
This love triangle.
This love
which
triangle
we've-
that I've just invented in my head.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Because Tarantino produces and appears as in her one-woman play.
Yeah, one woman show featuring Quentin Tarantino. Yeah.
Which is great. But that's 4 years later. That's 98. So their friendship, romance, whatever, continues through. It's also 94 is the year that Hibbert and Sweeney get divorced.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, there's something, there's my challengers in there. There's my
Yeah.
love triangle, menage a trois between these three.
Well, yeah, because watching this, I was like, Quentin Tarantino doesn't have a great history for like long-running relationships with women who he's not sexually interested
Nope.
in. And so I asked you, I was like, were him and Sweeney fucking? And then you were like, they must have been. And then we were like, oh no, wait, Sweeney's husband worked on its part. Sweeney's husband wrote its part.
Yeah.
And so that was when you were like, oh no,
But that's it.
Quentin's a homewrecker.
Well, that's it. Well, your husband wrote it, but you brought in your new friend to rewrite it.
Your new friend, yeah.
And you get divorced in the same year. I don't know. It's all Julia Sweeney, come on down. I will say the other writer that you pointed out, because I've just seen the top
Emerson,
episode,
yeah.
is got zero credits really. You've told me, but you can see there.
Yeah.
He was a writer in 1994 for SNL, but it's additional material and it's uncredited. So I'm assuming he's a part writer for Sweeney.
Yeah.
If your name isn't in the credits, I don't count you, buddy.
We need to watch these episodes because
I've seen these episodes.
because first one, Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger, UB for a musical guest.
The Patrick Stewart Salt and Pepper episode's really good as well.
Well, yeah, that's the other one. Additional sketches, Patrick Stewart, and of course, I've spoken about my love of Patrick Stewart and the James Corden.
Yeah.
I want to see him do that with Pat.
Oh, yeah.
When you're presenting an award, don't just stand there with your hands in your pockets, being God knows what gender.
I will say though, I can't remember the parts. How many?
Yeah.
Both of these episodes are right after each other. It's episode 12 and 13 of season 19.
Yeah.
That's too much pop already.
Well, I want to see the two-part sketch.
Yeah.
I just want to see Patrick Stewart meet its part.
Yep.
That sketch has to be gold. Jim Emerson won't let me down. Jim Emerson, come on the podcast. We might not be able to get Quentin Tarantino or Julia Sweeney, but I have belief that we can get the dirt from Jim Emerson. What was it writing for Legend of the Stage and Screen, Sir Patrick Stewart? Okay. And so, along with Quentin Tarantino, which just the idea of Quentin Tarantino writing Pulp Fiction and its part back to back,
And
going
Natural
from
Born Killer is all in the same year as well, isn't it? It's,
that's brilliant.
the typewriter doesn't end, does
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Great.
So, along with Quentin Tarantino doing work on the script, we also had uncredited contributions from Bobby and Peter Farrelly, which you said was very
I think it's more
obvious.
obvious. There's
Yeah.
and again, could be wrong, but there's a lot more gross out kind of jokes in this than there is in the sketches.
Yeah.
The sketches are all just androgynous, trying to find out.
Yeah.
But there's a new characteristic of Pat is spitting, or like spittle.
And they're obvious, like they're glaring little scenes
Yeah.
of like you can just insert.
They are
these in.
absolutely inserted.
Yeah.
And it's not just the material, it's almost how, and I don't know how much they could write it in, but the way they're shot looks like a fucking Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah,
something about
movie
it.
43.
Yeah, extreme close-ups,
Yeah,
like to get
yeah.
the reaction shots and the dripping down.
Yeah.
I think that could be wrong, but I think it's obvious.
It's hard to tell what Quentin's contribution was, but the Farrellys, you can see their fingerprints on
And the
this.
Farrelly's might have came in to punch up the comedy.
Yeah.
Tarantino might have just pull it together.
Yeah, and that makes if
structurally,
he's a friend and he's giving notes and being like, oh, what about a scene where like maybe like Pat and Chris masturbate to some food fetish content?
It could be I've got an act 1 and an act 3.
Yeah.
I need something
Yeah.
that pulls it all together. I need
Non-linear, Julia, out of order. What about that? Whereas the Farrelly's, as you were saying, it's just like, oh, there's a bit of a lull here. What if we just insert a scene where Pat spits on someone?
And even the opening that you talked about with the POV of the birth canal,
Yeah.
that could be them as well. That's
Yeah, yeah. Just a
POV
quick
shots
shot,
in general, the quick things that can be inserted. I do think of them. So yeah,
The film was also directed by Adam Bernstein, which, if you want to see his credits, they include episodes of 30 Rock, episodes of Fargo, the TV series, and episodes of Breaking Bad. And we've spoken about, like, in the past, TV being something of a graveyard where directors can just go off and,
Yeah.
like, you're not really, it's a bit more anonymous there. But the idea of going from one of the most hated films of all time to being one of the most, like, the most acclaimed television shows.
I am assuming then.
Yeah.
You can scroll down and correct me, but he was a working TV director that has been pulled into the movie,
Oh, that is, yeah, maybe that.
and that he's.
I assumed he was a feature guy who's gone the other way.
I
but
feel it's the opposite.
I thought
I
he'd
don't.
been
I
banished
don't.
to
I don't think
television.
anyone's going to direct this, so we'll just get whoever can do TV.
Yeah, you're right.
Who did
it's
the
all
Ween
music
videos?
videos. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was his first
Yeah.
and quite possibly last feature.
Yeah. And then you can do TV, but you've been directing since 1980.
And They Might Be Giants music video.
Yeah. Oh, he did Ween. He's done the
Yeah.
B-52s. He's done.
Yeah, he was the in-house guy for They Might Be Giants, it looks like. Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
Oh no, he directed Six Ways to Sunday. Okay. I'm glad that It's Pat didn't kill anyone's career.
No. And that's a come in, do a job.
Yeah. You're not the auteur of It's Pat.
And because
so
he's
don't
such
worry.
an unknown name, he doesn't need to Alan Smithy it either. You can just
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So, speaking of that, I have some more IMDb trivia for you here, which is Julia Sweeney was so disenchanted by the movie that she never wanted to play the Pat character again. However, she'd agreed for Pat to be honoured as mayor for the day in West Hollywood on Halloween. Sweeney appeared on stage as Pat for one more time on October 31st, 1994, but describes her performance as half-hearted and pathetic.
Ooh.
Which, if Pat in the movie is her with her whole heart, oh, hello, it's great to be mayor.
I'd love to see the deflate. Oh, mayor.
Ah, gee.
I mean, it's something we haven't spoke about. Julia Sweeney, Pat's problematic nowadays. Sweeney's had to come out and talk about Pat more in the past 5 years than the past 30 years.
Yeah.
Sweeney is quite ashamed of Pat, is from what I remember. It could have gone back and forward by now.
Yeah.
It's good to know she had quite a lot of shame early on, though.
Yeah.
Because it isn't good.
She seems like a nice person.
She
from
does.
what I've-
That's what I was trying to say at the start. Sweeney in SNL I like as well. It's
Yeah.
not one of these, it's...
Victim of your own success,
Yeah,
of
like-
like the Pat.
And this
yeah.
is going deeper because it's Pat, when we're talking about the books and stuff I read, it's Pat the movie doesn't get covered.
Yeah.
Lauren's name's not on this. I think this wasn't...
There was a Lord Smithy credited that I noticed. Yeah.
Okay. I think this was asked for based on Pat's success,
Yeah.
currently, than SNL pushing for it.
Yeah.
I don't think this was like a Wayne's World
Yeah.
where they're fucking make a movie out of this, we can make money. I think this is outside influences.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like almost like a McDonald's kind of let's get Pat on all the stores, and no, obviously not. So yeah, it doesn't feel like an SNL film at times.
Yeah.
And it could be because of the writers, it could be the director, it could be the cast, it could be a lot of things. But yeah, that's a strange one.
Okay, so to the degree that there is a plot here, okay, we still haven't got through Pat being born.
No, we can
Pat's born,
fly through
delivered,
the plot,
and then we get like a childhood Pat scene where Pat is still voiced by Sweeney as a child. It's like dubbed, and a male child gives Pat a Valentine's Day card. A female child gives Pat a Valentine's Day card. What am I saying? Bidening here. And then Pat gives the Valentine's Day card to someone. And the idea is just like, oh, same old, same old. If you wonder what Pat's childhood looked like, it was this.
Yeah.
And then leap forward to teen Pat. And I can't even remember.
You don't
It's
need to
like
go through-
working a job or something, isn't it?
Because this is not a film. This is not a beat by beat film. This is
Yeah, but there are certain beats
there is
that
big
we
beats, but you
we
need
will
to-
cover
you
the
need to
beginning and the
establish
end.
that they run through her opening because you know it's Pat.
Well,
You
and
know
then
it from the mother saying it's Pat. You know what this thing is, so we
Yeah.
don't need to set up too much.
I want to at least do the beginning, which is Pat is working their job, which Pat is a postman, and then they get fired for reading mail, because what is it about being gay?
They tell, so what Pat's gimmick is that she'll read your mail and then deliver it to you, or they'll deliver it to you, sorry. And so it's like, oh, your granny's giving you a postcard, and then she gets fired. They get fired by the guy from Friends because they outed a gay letter coming out story to the parents.
Yeah.
And that's obviously a federal crime.
Yeah.
So,
What, being gay?
which is a funny joke. I will say that. You know, there's a few in here, but that was one of the few.
So the thing I liked is Pat's boss, as he is firing Pat, is like strapping on a bulletproof vest and saying like, "You're not disgruntled, are you?" And I was like saying to you, I was like, hang on, is this another shooting joke? Because I watched Jumanji like hundreds of times, and then it was only when I watched it with like someone I was dating from the US that she was like, hang on, wait, was that just a shooting joke? And I was like, what? And she's like, the going postal. I had no idea.
Yeah, because I think I've spoke to you about that, like using the phrase "going postal."
We probably had this exact conversation on the podcast.
And I'm going to say it again. What I said back then is, in a pre-Columbine years, going postal was the kind of term maybe for postal offices. Because when's Falling Down as well? That must be.
Yeah, Falling Down's 94.
Yeah,
like I think Jumanji's
everything's
like 90. Like this 2 years film, 93, 94, where you could make mass shooting jokes.
Specifically about postal. And I'm sure The Simpsons are doing the same at the time.
Yeah. So that was just kind of funny. And then Pat goes into like a pharmacist, and we get more lazy, will they, won't they, whatever. Like Pat being like, I need protection for my smell. I don't want to offend. I need some lubricant.
And what's the name
I
of the
need some
actress?
feminine napkins.
What's the name of the actress?
I could have sworn she played John Lovitz's wife in like Rat Race or something.
Tippy, that's it. Kathy Najima. I know her from something. Sister Act or something. Sister Act.
The Fisher King.
Sister Act 2. Yeah, she's Sister Mary Patrick.
Rat Race, she plays John Lovitz's wife in Rat Race. There we go.
She's in a lot of things. Go down to TV.
Brother Bear 2, Wally.
Go down to TV for a second.
The Kathy and Mo show. So is she a friend of Kathy Griffin?
No, her name's Kathy Najima, remember?
Oh, no, I'm an idiot.
Anyway, I'll go back to it. So the actress that plays Tilly, which is the person behind the counter that's getting disgusted by the will they won't they, is Kathy Najimy.
Yeah.
Famous from a lot of things. I actually quite like her little performance because she's not like disgusted. She's terrified.
Yeah.
She is absolutely terrified of Pat, and I quite like that.
Pat is so tedious in this movie, but watching other people's reaction, watching the impact that Pat has on people.
Well, watching one person's reaction, but I will give Kathy's due as well, because other than the one big star of the show, I like that little reaction. There, too many people don't give Pat the disturbed scariness.
Okay, so Pat gets fired from the post office, and then Pat tries to get another job, and Pat works in a sushi restaurant, and this is where we get the first gross out joke of Pat sneezes in someone's order and is like, but there you go. I don't know why my Pat's Jimmy Stewart now. And the like Japanese sushi chef is asked like, yo, what's Pat's deal? And so he's answering, and he's like, well, we went to a bathhouse together, and I can reveal that Pat is, and then at this point in time, Pat starts blending something, and someone stands up in front of the subtitles, which I wanted to give Pat this credit because I was like, oh, the only other thing I've seen do this around this time period is Austin Powers. So it's like Pat invented the obscure subtitles gag.
And I was like, no, it's Wayne's World.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember 1 or 2, but I'm going with 2. 2 in my head's got the meeting the father, and it's round about there. It's definitely a Mike Myers joke, though.
Yeah.
It's definitely. And if it's not from either of those films originally, Mike Myers will have used it in SNL at the same time that Sweeney was on it, unfortunately. Yeah. It's an easy gag. It's not something you can't own that gag.
No,
of course.
No, it's probably been done prior to SNL. But yeah,
it stinks of SNL, but it stinks of Myers. And
Yeah.
like, when we both think of different Mike Myers films, it's not a good sign.
Well, I'm sure there's someone out there who watched Wayne's World and was like, hey, they're doing the Pat guy. One of those patrons who paid $60,000. Okay, so while we are on Wayne's World, we should speak about the rest of the cast. So Dave Foley, plays Chris. You mentioned Dave Foley,
Yep.
Kids in the Hall, Bug's Life.
Yep.
Dave Foley gets this plum role, this opportunity of a lifetime to play Pat's partner, who is equally androgynous. Yep. And Dave Foley only got this role because apparently not Mike Myers, Dana Carvey played Chris in the sketches, and yet Dana Carvey turned down this. Which interesting, curious why Dana wouldn't want to follow up Wayne's World.
No. Wayne's World 2 as well, yeah. We do know that thankfully he's working on his own show.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's it actually. I don't think Carvey's not someone that turns down people as well, like unless there's a proper clash.
At that point in time, I think he's probably just he's too busy.
Yeah, I think he's doing the Dana Carvey show.
Yeah.
And it goes live in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And we've got to get going.
And who knows where Charlie Kaufman is? Where's the 9 foot tall Charlie Kaufman?
Armenian Charlie Kaufman.
If Andy Kaufman's mother drops Charlie Kaufman off in a car.
And I will say though, Foley's stock won't be at the highest at this time in '94.
Yep.
Kids in the Hall.
Ain't got that Pixar check yet.
Newsnight's not on.
Yeah.
He hasn't got that Pixar breakthrough stuff from the late '90s. Kids in the Hall's cancelled, I believe, at this time in '94. So I understand why he'd take the work. He doesn't do anything that David Spade wouldn't have done. I've got no notes on Foley, unfortunately. I love Foley.
Yeah. So Pat and Chris meet, and after a whirlwind
Well,
romance-
they meet at a strip club. Pat goes to a strip
because
club.
Pat has been, after
for
Pat
jobs.
loses the sushi job,
Yeah.
Pat then becomes a gas inspector at the strip club.
Yes.
It was like, what? 82 degrees?
Why do you wear a sweater?
Yeah.
No, I haven't used
heard
costume from the 40s, apparently.
We're going to cycle through every possible platform. And then, what is Chris doing at the
Chris
strip
is a
club?
server. He's like a host server.
Yeah.
And that's why they get their androgynous, because they're working at a strip club, but they're
Yeah.
not stripping.
Yeah.
So it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any notes.
Well, the funny thing I said to you is like we get like the like sex scene of like pan across underwear lying in front of like a fireplace, and I'm like, it's funny how like, and then like Pat and Chris propose like simultaneously, and I'm like, it's funny how like heteronormative its Pat is of like, listen, one of them is male and one of them is female. They're not both like it's just like let's be very clear about this. This is a straight relationship.
It is as well. Like we're talking about the sort of problematicness. I don't get any of that watching Pat. Pat, to me, I never think there's any. I know it wouldn't be made in this day.
Yeah.
And I know that sensibilities and everything's changed, but I don't think it's as grossly offensive as what people might think it is.
Okay, let's get into this. In that I'd read it's problematic. I told people I'd seen it and they're like, oh, is that the transphobic film or whatever? I'd seen on Letterboxd in amongst my 5-star review, there's just a sea of like 1-star transphobic whatever. And I'm going to go out to bat for this film because I do not think this is transphobic.
Not at all.
I think this film is about like, it is irrelevant what Pat is. Pat is boring and horrible.
Yeah.
And your life is better just not thinking about Pat.
Yeah.
And this is a cautionary tale about how knowing and caring what is going on in Pat's pants is the one-way path to insanity and destroying
that's
your
the
life.
point. That is the point of it.
Because of the character Kyle Jacobson, played by Charles Rocket,
Boy.
who is the absolute star of this show.
So that's why I wanted to talk. Like, yeah, I've been waiting. Just like when I was watching the film, I was just waiting for the rocket.
Yeah.
When we get into the rocket factory, finally got there. It was what I remembered about the film.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing I said to you. I was like, Charles Rocket's in it. Who the fuck's Charles
Yeah,
Rocket?
you're like,
again?
Charles Rocket plays the love interest. And it's like,
No,
I think
he
he's
does. He
Chris.
falls in love and does stuff. So Charles Rocket, for people who don't know, is an SNL alumni. One of the few that comes in this. He is from season 6, which is famously the Norm Lawrence season, the Gene Dominion season. He got fired for saying fuck on camera live on air. A great
Do you know the
sketch.
context?
Yeah, it's he plays JR, you know who shot JR.
Yeah.
And it's the end of the show and he's coming out and they're all like,
Someone shoots JR.
No, he's
JR's like, fuck.
No, he's like, well, we'd like to see, next week we'll find out what the grand conclusion. And Charles Rock goes, I'd like to know who the fuck did it. It's great. Right? It's one of the best parts of a show. Charles Rocket was, and it is named as well, was promoted as the new Chevy.
Oh, okay,
He was tall, he was charismatic, he did the news, he was going to be the Chevy.
Yeah.
And he kind of fucked up, literally. Goes on to do great stuff, but what I do remember was, that's it, I was like, SNL season 6 says fuck, great in its part. That was my memory of him, that's all I could remember. Yeah, he's in a lot of other stuff though.
He's in Dances with Wolves, man.
And Dumb and Dumber, he continues to work with the families, and
Yeah,
great work. Big fan of Rocket, and he is the savior. The funniest, the greatest part of this film.
So he essentially plays Graham Linehan.
Yes.
In that he plays a well-adjusted man with a healthy relationship who moves in next door to Pat and then gradually destroys his life.
I love it. I think the role, I said to you, it feels like it was written for Kyle MacLachlan. It feels like
I don't think Kyle
the name's
would be able
Kyle.
to do it.
No, I would. Yeah, he would. Like Desperate Housewives, Kyle MacLachlan. You know, when he's
I've
like,
not.
oh, no, Kyle MacLachlan can play a good bad guy.
He can play a bad guy, but I don't know if he can play insane.
He's essentially just turn up the role that he's doing in Across the Road at Flintstones movie.
No, he's evil and conniving.
He could. I think he could do it. I think he could do it. But anyway, he didn't do it. He's not here. Rocket's here because Rocket's my man. But even the name, Kyle Jacobson, I don't know why. I feel like the curtains and the bangs and the way he looks, very 1994 Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's the neighbour that...
Kyle MacLachlan was like, I can't fit you in between Showgirls and the Flintstones. Sorry.
Fire Walk with me in the same year as well. Busy man.
So my next line for you is, once Pat gets fired, Chris is like, you know, statistics have shown if someone doesn't have a career by the time they're 30, then they're just a deadbeat and they can never commit to anything. And Pat's like, I had 23 jobs last year. How many did you have? One? I don't know.
That's a good
as
one.
a failing actor who just tumbles from one thing to the next, I was like, oh no.
Well, I like actually like the
Pat
follow-up line, because she's like, I got 23. How many do you have? And Dave Foley's one.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I'm not going to take job advice from you then.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a fun line. I like that.
And then to almost wipe out my notes here, I'm just going to skip ahead to another quote from a Pat and Chris interaction. I don't know what you want out of life. I just want fame and riches. Is that too much to ask?
Good line. Good line.
Because Pat is obnoxious. And like, the two sources of comedy for this, I think, are that Kyle is just like a complete lunatic. And Pat is funny as kind of like a SpongeBob type cartoon character of like, Pat's really annoying, but in a way that's kind of compelling to watch, in the way that like, I don't know, SpongeBob is annoying. Just watching Pat delivering mail and like, Pat's like an asshole.
Yeah, of course.
Pat's horrible.
We said this. So spoilers when we said what would fix, right?
Yeah.
But we both agreed that it would be so much better to see it from the flip.
Yeah.
To see it from Charles Rocket's point of view.
Yeah.
To see Pat as the object. And the best analogy I could say for this, because it also is a prick, is Roadrunner.
Yeah.
Coyote. You need to... Charles Rocket's the coyote.
Yeah.
Pat is the fucking annoying little roadrunner that just keeps on dipping through life and going through jobs and falling upwards.
It's Frank
Grimes.
She
lands. They land on TV. They land a gig with Ween. They keep going uphill. And Rocket keeps going more insane, trying to expose their genitals.
Why?
There's a good fun film.
It's about women's rights, okay? I'm a crusader. I'm a defender of women. Yeah. So I've exhausted my notes here. So I'm just trying to think of the nonsense which goes on in between, because there are moments that I laughed of like Pat just being like an asshole and horrible to people. So Pat stumbles into Gene and Dean Ween. Yeah. And Pat joins the Weens as
Pat Ween.
The tuba player. Is that? Yeah. And so, like, the crowd loves Pat, and Pat goes and speaks to Chris about, like, well, I'm a big rock star now.
And a bit missing is because Ween seen Pat on TV. We've seen Pat on TV.
Yeah.
On like America's Funniest
Oh
Videos.
yeah, that's what we've missed.
That's
yeah,
where Charles Rocket.
Okay, wait. So we'll go back now. We're gradually gonna.
You were going through beat by beat.
I was going to the end. Let's talk about the engagement party. So Pat and Chris get engaged, and then they have this engagement party, and everyone there is like, oh, I was really hoping that when I met Pat's partner, that we give insight, as if they're like, oh, Pat's dating a man, Pat must therefore be female because being gay is a federal crime. And then Pat's friends are there being like, oh, I hoped meeting Chris would help me know. And then Chris's friends are like, I hoped meeting Pat would let me know. And they give Pat and Chris a bunch of gifts, like some lingerie. And they're like, oh, this is something we'll both enjoy. And then they give Pat and Chris his and hers towels. And Pat is like, thankfully, now I can stop Chris using my stuff. And then they do some karaoke. And so what do they perform? They perform something, and they perform... Pat performs "Dude Looks Like a Lady."
As many jokes, songs as you can think that are sort of playing on gender, Pat's gonna fuck.
Yeah. Someone's like Lola by the Kings, I guess.
Leela.
Leela. Leela. So this is another thing which I observed to you is like, I had forgotten quite how quickly Kyle goes off the deep end.
Rightfully so.
I thought it was a gradual descent into insanity, but Kyle meets Pat, and then the very next day, he's in full Jimmy Stewart, like rear window with like telescopic, like camera, like just wall plastered photos of Pat, being like, 12:15, Pat's going for a piss. And it was also filming Pat with a camcorder, which is like, it's funny where I'm like, it's not enough that he needs to know, it's that he needs to document and expose Pat. And so Rocket is filming Pat performing karaoke, and then he submits Pat to the Murray Franklin show, and Pat becomes famous, and this video gets shown. And so Pat becomes like a viral 1993 phenomenon. And then that lands Pat on the radar of Gene and Dean.
Yep.
And so they're like, hey, why don't you come out and play the tuba with us?
Yep.
And then Pat becomes like, Pat gets their first taste of fame.
Yep.
And they start making plans, and it goes to their head, and they're like, well, Chris, I might not have time for you anymore. Yep. And Chris is like, I don't want you to be doing this. I want you to whatever. And then
I will say, after her fame, when it goes to her head, their head, sorry, Pat, one joke I like is when they're walking back into the apartment complex. And they go, hey guys, did you hear? I played with Ween. And the reaction is, ew, gross. I like that joke. So, you get one.
Yeah. And so Pat then rejoins Ween and is like, what are we doing today, guys? And they're like, well, we are playing another show, but you,
Yeah.
And Pat's like, but I thought I was a full-time member of Ween. And they're like, And then Pat's like, well, maybe I could join as like a supporter. And they're like, And they're like, what about a celebrity get? And they're like, what part of no are you not getting?
Which is really, isn't it good fun? I like Ween, for the record, by the way. I'm actually a Ween fan.
Is there a name for Ween heads?
A weenie? Dean and Gene, though, aren't good actors, of course not, and they're not obviously.
I don't think they're horrendous. One of them's better
Dean's
than the other.
better than Gene,
but
yeah. By a mile. Dean's a lot more confident. Gene, you can see squirm off camera occasionally. You're like, oh shit, I don't want to be here.
He retreats.
But it's too long. They get a bit too much time. For what should be a celebrity cameo. Which should be in and out. Like it should be quick. Move on to the next one. They go back to the Ween well.
We've got 8 minutes to fill, Kyle.
Already paid $5 for them.
The Farrellys have given us 15 spit gags. So Pat then goes home and laments to Chris that their 15 minutes of fame are up.
Yep.
And I was saying to you how I was like, it would be really funny to see like a modern remake of this film, because like yeah, in those days, whatever, flash in the pan. Whereas it's like, now you've seen that you can spin being in a Willy Wonka experience, or you can spin saying Hawk Chua, spit on that man, into like a multi-million-dollar podcasting empire and cryptocurrency, which will land you in jail. Whereas Pat is just like, oh, I guess I'm just irrelevant now.
Yeah.
Whereas we'd be seeing Pat on I'm a Celebrity. They'd be like,
Pat and the I didn't do it, kid. You know,
exactly. Yeah,
all these people.
Pat would be like a verified phenomenon from
100%.
one cameo at a Ween show.
Pat would also get cancelled though. So
Oh yeah, 100%.
there would still be a short ride.
Yeah. And so Chris grows unhappy with Pat's desire for fame. That's where the conversation comes up. And Chris and Pat break off their engagement. Chris is like, I'm leaving you. And then Pat goes back to their diary and is like, well, you know, Chris was getting too clingy, so I had to break off our engagement. And Rocket discovers like, oh wait, hang on. You have a diary?
Yeah.
And Pat's like, of course I have a diary. I've kept it since I was born. And it's like a little, like, it's like a laptop, but one of those like teen girl digital diaries from like a little padlock, whatever. And so password protected Pat diary, which Rocket steals. We don't find out how he steals it. Pat just comes home one day and it's gone, isn't it?
I don't know, I could have went and got coffee at that time. I might have.
Yeah,
that might have been
mentally,
one of
I
the
don't
few
know.
seconds I stepped out the room.
I'm like, I don't think we see Rocket staging a break-in, because
okay.
you'd have to imagine he would go hog wild
we've
being
only
in
got
Pat's
81
place
minutes.
unsupervised. Yeah.
We've got so much weed to use.
I think Pat's diary gets stolen. Pat comes home and then goes to Rocket's apartment. And I think this is where Pat discovers Rocket in Pat costume.
Yeah.
Pat's like, my diary's been stolen. And Rocket comes out and is like, what? And he's wearing the wig and the glasses. And just the way he takes it off quickly, he's like so good.
He's so good. And shoulders above.
And he's like, so, well, since your diary's been stolen, I guess you should tell me what the password is. And Pat's like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't tell anyone. All I'll tell you is it's in the dictionary. So in a great, again, like SpongeBob Simpsons gag bit, Rocket gets the dictionary and sets about entering every word. And then it reveals that Pat's password is the final word in the dictionary. And Rocket pours through the diary and it's just full of like meaningless Pat drivel.
Just drivel. It's filled with the script.
Yeah. And so he is like particularly upset because there's like, well, one secret, my deepest, darkest secret, which nobody knows. And he's like, this is it, here we go, is that I've not hoovered under the couch since I moved in. And he's losing it because his wife has obviously left him. He's no longer seeing his kids. He's hanging out with Rob Schneider at Thanksgiving. Father Ted the musical has been cancelled. And he's just at a complete loose end. And we haven't really covered, but Pat's neighbour is Kathy Griffin, who is a radio host. And then Pat follows Kathy Griffin to work one day and
sits in on live. And says some horrible things, but it gets a good reaction.
Yeah, someone's like, I'm reaching the end. I want to kill myself. Pat's like, well, why don't you do it? Drowning is a good way to go. You're so boring. And then in what is a scathing takedown of the media, Kathy's boss fires her and is like, we need more of a shock jock. Like, we need Howard Stern.
Howard's on the rise.
Pat's going to be riding the Sibian, and Gilbert Gottfried's going to be like...
another SNL alumni.
Yeah. And so Pat then gets... Fuck, it's Tim Meadows.
Yeah, it's Tim
Meadows. Yeah, the ladies' man. Leon Phelps.
I had to quickly look up, just because I was like, this isn't the same set. I know it's not, but seeing Tim Meadows in a radio station. Just played
Deja vu.
Played things with my brain. The ladies' man first sketch is 1997, so he's inspired from this probably, but
I love to think of him pitching the ladies' man in 1993, and then
it's
like
part of the
they
movie,
get shot down. And they're just like, well, I guess you guys aren't ready, but your kids are gonna love it.
So again, big surprise there, because Meadows, only cast member cast mate
Yeah.
of Julia Sweeney that makes an appearance in this
Yeah.
film. Very surprised that. So weird that it's not an SNL film, that it is an SNL film. Meadows is fine, doesn't do much.
Yeah.
Just kind of sets up just for the home run. Just Pat's going to be saying
gets
slog.
nothing because
Nothing.
no one in this film gets anything
Other than Rocket and Speedy,
Yeah, exactly,
you're fighting for scraps.
Yeah. Which includes, what was his name? Stefan.
Oh, Gunther.
Gunther. Okay, yeah, I was thinking of Billy.
I thought that 'cause I remember saying the name outside for the Bond villains.
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah.
yeah. It's Gunther.
Yeah.
There's a hair. Pat goes to get. So Pat.
Oh, okay, the gang, the Crips and the Bloods.
Pat's looking for their diary.
Yeah.
Their diary. And
Yeah.
they find these gang members.
Yeah, Pat goes
Generous.
to yeah, I don't know. Pat's wandering around
it's like-
Compton,
it's
being
the
like,
alleyway.
"Where's my diary?" And
Yeah.
I was like, in a not dissimilar episode when I went looking for my stolen phone.
So Pat walks down an alleyway, basically King of the Hill. Picture the King of the Hill alleyway with the four.
Never seen it.
Oh well, everyone else has. American culture, guys. And there's 4 or 5 gang members,
Yeah.
suspiciously middle-aged, suspiciously not gang at all, that try. Pat demands their diary back because they're a gang, they've stolen it.
Yeah.
They get incredulous. The gang are all, what
Who are you? I'm angry because someone's taken my diary.
And then explains, I know what you are, there's a word for that.
Yeah.
Say it, say the word. You're androgynous.
Someone goes out of the dictionary and looks it up.
That's great. That's a fun joke. Pat runs home and looks up androgynous.
Yeah.
Didn't know it. You like this gag, I didn't. So
Well,
you can say it.
it's another classic Simpsons.
Yeah, but the
isn't
Simpsons did it.
They done it in 1993.
Tell the joke and I'll look it up.
So Pat looks up like androgynous definition 1, androgynous definition 2, androgynous definition 3 is like an annoying person of indeterminate gender, and then there is an illustration of Pat. And so Pat is like, that's it, I've had it with being called androgynous. And so Pat goes for a makeover and they get a haircut, which the first one is like, I don't know what this hairstyle is. Tim Burton probably gives a lot of characters it in like Mars
Yeah.
Attacks. It's like Bart and Milhouse get it when they put on the wigs. And it's that classic kind of like swoopy, like Omega style hair. And then Pat's like, no, I don't like it. And then Pat gets like a like John Travolta kind of,
Yes.
on you go.
Sorry, I've come to burst in and ruin the joke.
The Simpsons dictionary
The
gag.
Simpsons dictionary, which is exactly the same joke.
Yeah.
Even with the picture and all.
100%.
Is 1991.
Oh, god damn you,
So,
Julia.
Sorry, Julia. You don't get I'm taking away all the credit for your funny bits.
And also the idea of an ambiguously gendered character first made an appearance in the show William Shakespeare. So Pat then gets like, the John Travolta kind of like greaser haircut.
I thought you meant the bald cap at first.
No,
I was like, that's
no.
the modern day Travolta.
And then a bald cap. And then Pat gets the final haircut, which is just the classic Pat cut. And we were speaking about how we were like, Gunther is an opportunity
like
for
cameo.
like someone has 40 minutes free in their day to shoot a cameo. One of your friends from beloved show SNL.
Yep.
And instead it's a non-entity.
It's nothing. And it's because
You would think like, nowadays it would be Fred Armisen, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Of
no.
like, he'll come in, he'll do a funny voice, he'll probably do a gay stereotype.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you don't even have to pull from your own pool. You've got Charles Rocket.
Yeah.
You could get Gilbert in.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, he'd be so
You
good.
could get Rocket. Can you ask Gilbert if he's
Yeah,
free? You know,
yeah.
He's worked together. Come
Yeah,
on in.
yeah.
Like, there's so
Can you
many.
get Patrick Stewart?
Yeah. Damon Wayans. You could get anybody you wanted, and that's a massive because these are the times when you should use these little cameos. It'll take longer in makeup than it will to film.
Okay, we have spoken about this film both being like unfunny, padding stuff in, while also being incredibly short. Would it surprise you to learn that 2 cameos were cut
Ooh.
from its part?
Well,
So,
I'm sure you've told me one.
2 cameos ended up on the cutting room floor. Harvey Keitel as a priest and Jonathan Richman as Pat's father.
Oh, fuck.
So,
Because the mother is in it briefly.
yeah,
Is that a cameo from that same scene at the start?
No, because like you can't. He would be there in the wide.
But
Of,
there's
like,
all very close-ups. So the mother is like here.
no, I think we do
canal.
get an establishing shot of like when
Roll
he
the footage.
hands. When he hands, I think,
Get the CCTV up, guys. Let's see the roll back the footage.
yeah, like what's her name, the Palestinian actor who'd been cut from Gladiator 2, and has now just been reduced to non-speaking extra. Jonathan Richman appears, and
Yeah.
So Harvey Keitel, which Harvey Keitel, very significant character in Pat lore, because he has gone on record saying that Pat is female, because in an SNL sketch he kisses Pat and he says that Pat kisses like a woman, ergo Pat is female. Was that before or after this?
That would have been before, because Julia Sweeney finishes in 94 in SNL. So
okay,
I assume the movie's just right at the end.
Yeah.
You've left, the season's over, the movie's out.
Am I ever going to get more Pat?
Good luck, you're on your own now. Harvey's in, I remember that episode as well.
Yeah. Okay, what if Tarantino wrote a Tarantino scene with Harvey Keitel as a priest where he's having like a complete crisis of faith, and like it's a really like sort of heavy, dark scene, and that they both just got cut in one fell swoop.
Yep. You could say that could have been a Tarantino written part as well. For Harvey that might have got cut because Quentin, what the fuck does that make sense? It's about Pat, you know. Charles Rocket's having a meltdown. What's Harvey Keitel doing?
Why is Harvey Keitel saying the N-word?
But it would have been nice to have a little bit of continuity from the show, from SNL. That would have been a nice wink and nod for nobody, but it would have been nice.
Yeah. Although Harvey Keitel is a priest, Tarantino doesn't really feature priests, does he?
He plays a priest in Little Nicky.
Yeah, true. Good, yeah. There is another one of Keitel's long-term collaborators who does feature priests quite heavily. What if Martin Scorsese didn't uncredited right on his and he also got cut. So we going back, we were speaking about Gunther. We went down the sidetrack down Gunther Alley because we were like, no one really gets anything to work with.
No.
And this was Tim Meadows firing Kathy Griffin, and Pat takes over her job, and then Pat goes home and Kathy Griffin is like unconsolable because she's lost her show, and Pat's like, well, I guess you got fired because the people don't really like what, and she's like, no, I got fired because you took my show. And another great scene of Pat being an asshole is Pat's like, well, I'd love to help, but I really need this show. And so then we go back to the show, and Pat deals with more nonsense in like a nice little bit. Rocket phones up the show and is like,
I like this.
My neighbor.
Name's Pat. She sounds annoying. Because Chris phones up as well, doesn't he? And that's their...
afterwards Chris phones up.
All his last home stretch is blurred together now. There's nothing fun for
I have
me.
a problem. I'm in love with someone. Let's call them Pat. And let's say that I left Pat, and I said and let's say my name is Chris. And let's say I was moving to Tibet to get over Pat, but let's say I didn't really want to get over Pat. And then Pat's like, well, you should because they suck. And then it's like, no, I am. And happy ending, whatever. And then, that's what it is. Rocket, it's not when he phones in. Right, but so Rocket at one point, or does he phone in?
Rocket phones in at the end.
Rocket phones in as himself.
At the end.
And then he phones in as like, hey.
I've got your diary.
Yeah.
So he phones in 3 times in the show. I remember this part. He phones in once to talk and find out. Then the second time to lure that I have your diary. Where do you want me to?
Do you ever want it back? And Pat's like, well, lots of people have diaries still. And how do I? And he's like, well... When's the last time you hoovered under the... And Clyde's like, oh no!
So we got our chase scene as well. Because they meet in Hall of Mirrors.
They meet at Ripley's, believe it or not, on Hollywood Boulevard.
That is.
Which I've been to on It's Cat Pilgrimage. We get our nice Bond Scaramanga.
Did you do a family-friendly It's Pot tour?
No, I've never actually been in it. So,
anyway, Rocket is in drag in
full Pat regalia, which may or may not be drag, we don't know.
Pat says, I recognize you, but I can't tell me. Rocket they give chase for that. I can't remember the fucking way, but it's a terrible running down.
No, you're not skipping over this just yet, because I have my Ingmar Bergman. So like they have their big conversation in the Hall of Mirrors of like, I love you, and yet I'm repulsed from you. Again, more Glinner of like captures that Glinner chaser dynamic perfectly of being like, I need to know, you're my missing puzzle piece. I just don't know what parts fit together where. And then it's weird man, weird line, weird man,
weird good.
Yeah, and then they have a split screen shot with half of Pat's face and then half of Rocket's face, and I was like, they had no need to go this hard, and it looks so good. And then I'll let you zoom through.
Well, no, then,
Chase.
and then
they run off.
because then it's a very you're going so hard, and then they're literally just running through back alleyways and back lots until they get.
Need I remind you of you under a sheet running around? Like,
I didn't cost 30 million.
I can't get weed on the line, so
I didn't have Charles Rocket on call, did I?
Yeah.
And that's poor. They crash through. They end up in a Phantom of the Opera above on the.
your classic.
Call it again not the gantries. What do you call it?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
In the rafters upstage.
yeah.
That's not the word, but backstage,
rafters, yeah.
up in the rigging.
You get a nice little Phantom of the Opera style chase scene, which is fun.
Yeah.
I can't remember how Pat falls. Do you?
They get caught on a hook, isn't it?
I don't know where the hook comes. I don't.
Yeah.
Rocket's chasing, and then
Yeah,
suddenly they're
yeah.
on a hook for me.
Yeah.
So Pat gets stuck on a hook and falls down
Yeah.
back into the Ween show.
The only shows that you ever get in LA, Ween shows.
Ween just play on a loop apparently, which is weird.
Ween are doing their 365 night residency in Los Angeles.
And the hook is, I don't know where the hell it's attached, but it rips
Yeah.
the lower half of Pat's garments to
Yeah.
reveal to a shocked crowd who all start applauding and
Yeah.
woo and cheering. Charles Rocket can't see the security guards.
He's
throw them away.
desperately trying to
I
make
just want to fucking see.
And then he's like, they stop and they're like, can you just tell me?
Which would have been fun if Pat slowly started to swivel, like a pig on a hook or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the great reveal. I don't know if there's anything else before the end here.
No, that's
it. Pat gets back with Chris. They have their famous radio show.
Yeah.
The last thing I thought about, only the last thing, is when Charles Rocket phones in at the very, very end. And this is the moment when I went, oh shit, this isn't as problematic as I remember. Because they were like, oh, what? You're transvestite? And he goes, oh, sometimes I like to wear women's clothes, sometimes I like to wear men's clothes. And I was like, oh shit, 1994, I didn't expect
Find
that.
binaries everywhere you go.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't expect that. I expected a much crueler Charles Rocket kind of joke at the end, and that didn't happen. Very surprised.
Yeah, so that is the end of the film. That was Pat, yeah.
That was Pat.
So I don't have much to share from the IMDb trivia apart from this one section. Shortly after the film was pulled from theatres due to critically poor reception, an unfortunate coincidence, Julia Sweeney received news that her brother Mike had been diagnosed with lymphoma. Sweeney later attributed both hardships to her losing her faith in God. Which
laugh at that.
no, it's horrible, isn't it? If you're
horrible.
Mike Sweeney and you're like, you getting lymphoma is as bad as it's bad.
If only I'd believed.
Two equal disasters, which Harvey Keitel could have saved us from if I just kept my faith.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, so the Razzie worthiness of this film. It was, of course, nominated for 5 Razzies, which are Worst Actress, Julia Sweeney. Worst New Star, Julia Sweeney. Worst Picture, Charles B. Wessler. Worst Screen Couple, Dave Foley and Julia Sweeney. Worst Screenplay, Jim Emerson, Stephen Hibbert, and Julia Sweeney. So
your thoughts?
my thoughts are this is I like it, but this is a Razzie worthy film.
It's an absolute definition of a Razzie.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if you have personal preferences.
You
or
look
likes.
up Razzie in the dictionary and you see a picture of Pat.
Absolutely. This is prime Razzie.
Yeah.
So what? Some of them though. Surprised worst actress and not worst actor too in a weird.
Oh yeah.
playing
That
Pat,
would have
what-
been
What is
he hadn't yet found his groove.
Yeah,
That's for Razzie.
he hasn't got it yet.
Yeah.
Worst new star. Yeah, I mean, I like Sweeney again.
Do we want to see who
Who was up against?
Yeah, who she was up against. So the other nominees are Elizabeth Berkley to Come the Award, Amy the Talking Gorilla in Congo, David Caruso in Jade and Kiss of Death,
Okay.
and Cindy Crawford in Fair Game. So I don't know.
I
have
mean,
no...
Julie Sweeney has a double one here.
Oh my god.
So she does deserve that.
Yeah.
If it's a double bill, and yeah, I'm sorry, Sweeney.
Okay, do you want to reveal what the other one is?
And the other one is a certain SNL movie. Stuart Saves His Family, starring Al Franken.
So yeah, like Elizabeth Berkley doesn't deserve that award.
not at all.
So yeah.
I don't like to, but met it. Yes.
Yeah. Worst screen couple. Do we think that went to Kyle and Elizabeth? Because, like, Pat and Chris are your... Oh, yeah, any combination of two people or two body parts, showgirls. Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
That familiar embrace of nostalgia, being like, oh, yeah, any two this and any two that.
I mean, yeah. It's almost because... Well, obviously they don't have any chemistry. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's not like a real thing. The biggest...
It's like someone who is like loathsome and someone who's boring. Yeah. It's like your perfect relationship.
So it's one thing I said to you when we were watching it. Dave Foley and Kids in the Hall, famously when they did their drag sketches, used to get prodded at for being so feminine looking and looking too female in drag. And it was, McDonald and McKinley were better at doing the voices and making it a bit more of a performance rather than you're actually cross-dressing here. So like... Dave Foley plays it as if he's just a backup in a sketch.
Yeah.
There's I'm not stepping forward. I'm not going to put on anything too much of a voice, too much of an effort, too much mannerisms. But which is fine, which is okay to do that because Pat's the fucking star. But on the flip side, they are pretty rough together. Like when they speak, you can't put it to Rocket and Sweeney, but I do get it. It is actually one that makes sense and isn't just any two combination.
Yeah. And then the screenplay, which I think if you're not giving it to Julia, the screenplay would be the other one. Yeah. It's because it's like Rocket is working with just scraps.
Rocket's
it's
working
not
because
much
he's talented
on it's not much on the page.
Because you could put anyone different in that role and it could be horrific.
It falls flat.
100%.
Yeah. So the competition it had for screenplay, it of course went to Showgirls, written by Joe Esterhaas.
No.
And the other nominees, Congo by John Patrick Shanley, Jade, Joe Esterhaas again, and The Scarlet Letter by Douglas Day Stewart. So
I'm not debating that.
Yeah, it could have won that quite easily. And then your smallest change, which can make the biggest difference.
For better is what we said before, but I do think that's quite a radical change to flip the perspectives.
That is requires an overhauled screenplay.
Yes.
You're making a different movie.
I'm making a different movie here. So the smallest one, do you have one in your mind?
No, not really. Put Harvey Keitel back in.
Yeah.
Write Chris a character. And give Chris some fighting traits.
Personally, I just write Chris out of it. But again, maybe that's too big a change. I don't think Chris is necessary for the film.
No, and Chris. I don't think Chris is a big change because you could lose Chris incredibly easily.
Well, then Chris goes as bottom. I think the easiest change just to make me smile is more cameos, more. Oh, it feels like home. But cutting Chris and just having a straight Pat falls upwards.
Yeah.
Charles Rocket pursuing. I'm happy with that.
If we've not got a scene which Kathy Griffin cuts off the head of Ghost Can't Do It star Donald J. Trump, then I would say you're right, more cameos, more SNL people.
Yeah, just anything like Chris Farley as a bus driver would make me happy,
The MCU has melted my brain. I just want to point and clap at things I recognize.
Sandler can be my gang member.
Give me my glove shit.
He can give you your voice that you want so badly,
I want Pat to be working somewhere which sells containers which you can store weed in.
Yeah.
That would be quite funny.
I want Pat to either be in a very realistic world where the world is mortified and hates how horrible Pat is.
Yeah.
Or I want equally as cartoony a world with people to bounce off.
Yeah, you're right. There needs to be more clarity of what is Pat's relationship with the world, which again makes Rocket more funny if he is different to the norm.
Yes.
But when people applaud seeing Pat naked, I'm like the world's relationship with Pat is just whatever's needed from the film in the moment. And not to say that that's bad. You can have these sort of rubbery rules of whatever is funny, but it's not as if they're using the rule of whatever is funny is what we do. It's just whatever is easiest.
Yeah.
Like when Pat's neighbours are talking about Pat at their engagement party, and you're just this is... Sometimes people are fascinated by Pat. Sometimes people are grossed out by Pat. Sometimes people are annoyed by Pat. And I don't know.
It's almost like for these SNL films.
Yeah.
I want the lonely ladies man or whatever the fuck it was called. Meadows was passionate in that film, right?
Yeah, for sure.
He really was trying. He knew it was this film.
This is my one shot. I'm not going to be leading the film
MacGruber,
again.
I'm thinking of Myers and Carvey in their first Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Sweeney's quite passionless. Like, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of people rallying around this film. I think Stuart feeds his family.
She's probably trying to save a crumbling marriage due to director Quentin Tarantino.
Distracted. It is passionless. It's one of the most Razzie-worthy films never to win a Razzie.
Yeah. Okay, so this is our pitch then. We need to get the phone number of Jason Reitman, and we're going to pitch him our Challenger's story about the production of It's Pat. Harvey Keitel's going to play himself.
I said I wanted the 90 minutes before the premiere, and he's put all his money. Lauren's put all his money in this. What's the film about, Lauren? What's the film about? I know it's about, sitting in
And it's going to be filled to the brim with cameos. We're going to get Dick Ebersol back. Cooper Hoffman's going to be like, no, I'm out. Okay, one final detail, which the soundtrack page on IMDb ruined because it says no soundtrack album was released.
Yeah.
The songs from It's Pat are listed below with the film's credits.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw 8 Dude Looks Like a Lady, Aerosmith, 9 Le Freak, Julia Sweden, which I was like, I was just imagining, I saw that before I saw no soundtrack album was released, because I was imagining the soundtrack, while the film was a critical and commercial failure, the soundtrack albums reached platinum status. And I'm imagining a dad putting on the It's Pat soundtrack and rocking out to Aerosmith and
we talked about that with Freddy Got Fingered and how successful that soundtrack was compared to the film. So this could have been it, but it didn't get released.
No, tragic.
Can't put it in the collection.
Yeah, we could have been listening to Don't Get Too Close to My Fantasy by Ween. So that concludes the first half of the podcast. Join us in the second half when we will cover some other Razzie related business. Okay, so we spoke about it a little bit on our last episode, but we are very near the end of the year. Of course, we're going to cover our actual predictions for the nominations in our preview show. But now's as good a time as any. Do you have any films to watch? What's on your radar? What are some of your titles that you're anticipating being front runners at the next?
Well, you sprung this on me, and I realised I hadn't been thinking at all. I'd just been put in the back burner. So I was actually relying on you at first.
Very different approaches to things. If you go off and you're Will Graham making boats, living a family life, meanwhile I'm just like a Graham Linehan sitting on Twitter 23 hours a day.
Because I don't think it's not been a good Razzie year.
Yeah.
As we've
Au contraire.
Well,
it's not been a good Razzie year, says man who has confessed to not watching bad films that he's not being made to.
Yeah. I didn't think, but I'm thinking standout.
Yeah.
I think I've been floored by Morbius, and that that I can't take internet reaction or meme reaction that I don't maybe know how Razzie Worst Picture is going to go this year.
They've taken some departures in recent years with My Pillow, Blonde, Winnie the Pooh.
How do you follow that trend?
Yeah, you don't know what tack they're going to take.
So I do have a couple in mind though, but what's your takeaway then?
Okay, so my front runner is Megalopolis. Yeah. And that, if I had to bet on something now, that would be what I would go with. I've been doing a little bit of catch-up work, so I have watched, because I've been thinking, I'm like, okay, Trump won 2016, we got Hillary's America, so I was like, are we going to get a conservative reaction? So I watched Reagan, and I watched Am I Racist? Which were great times, but I don't think either of those are going to necessarily challenge for the top gong.
Reagan could appear.
Reagan's going to get nommed for sure.
It ain't winning.
Yeah, Reagan might win an acting one, perhaps.
Screenplay or something different.
Well, if I tell you that a certain father of Angelina Jolie is in both Megalopolis and Reagan, then perhaps we could be seeing double duty.
Okay, but there you go. That's a good giveaway then. Yeah. That's a very good giveaway.
But yeah, that's my front runner at the moment. Midway through the year, when I watched Unfrosted, the Jerry Seinfeld Pop-Tarts movie, I was like, it will be a bad year if I see something worse than this.
Yeah.
And Megalopolis is better than it, but I think...
You're thinking like a Razzie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Pop-Tarts movie is a good shout, actually.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I think everyone's forgotten about it, so he might just slide under.
It is a nailed on for best rip-off, remake, whatever, a sequel. Like, you've made a movie about a breakfast item?
A comeback movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, like I say, I've been so disappointed in getting it so wrong with like cape shit and things that I don't enjoy. But I'm gonna double down this year and say it's gonna be cape shit. And in 1 year I'm gonna be right. I'm going with Joker 2 this year.
Yeah.
What's it called again?
Fully.
Hot Shots Part 2. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to base off reaction how you can punch down a little bit more than Madame Web.
Yeah.
Or Megalopolis.
Yeah.
Because it's maybe a bit more culturally. I don't know. But I'm gonna go with Joker.
There's more of a narrative to Joaquin. Of,
And
like,
you've got
you
Gaga
had
as well.
the Todd Haynes thing,
Yeah.
and like Joaquin. Yeah, like I think
Joaquin
Joker
mostly
will be a
sparkle after
presence,
Napoleon
and
in
Joaquin
the public,
might.
you know,
yeah,
like-
I think Joaquin might win, but I don't think the film will win. It'll be nominated, and
Yeah.
Phillips will be nominated.
Yeah.
Joaquin's the only one I think could win. But
Phillips
yeah,
could pick screenplay. Did he write the screenplay?
yeah, he did.
Yeah, he could. That might be a dead set, a lock of the week.
67. Brendan Gleeson pulls down Joker's pants.
Yeah, that's my lock of the week. It's going to be Joker 2. I don't want it to be Megalopolis, but
Yeah.
I think there'll be noms.
Yeah.
I think the actors are going to take most of Megalopolis, I think.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. Where apart from John Voight, I don't think we're gonna see any acting wins for Megalopolis.
No, noms.
Beyond
almost.
like Shia LaBeouf maybe just because Bad Man, even though he's like one of the best parts about Megalopolis. But yeah, John Voight's gonna win because it's John Voight. But yeah, we do have some time left. Craven the Hunter is yet to come out.
Craven's the Madame Web. It'll have more memes than people that have seen it.
Yeah.
Joker 2 is why I'm banking because it was so hype and there was an expectation.
People have moved on already. Like no one saw it.
But no one see everything moves on too quick. Megalopolis is old news now, you know, like
Yeah.
everything we're in the flash in the pan. Hop to the next thing, you know, like
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm trying to cover my bases with Am I Racist? Because I'm like, there is the possibility that something that isn't even on our radar might
that's
win.
the other thing.
We're like, oh, Machine Gun Kelly's made another
Yeah,
direct-to-streaming
that's exactly.
movie. We didn't discuss Winnie the Pooh as a possibility.
And I
so-
don't think it will be. I don't think it'll even be.
No, I meant like last year that
No,
wasn't.
like I didn't think it would be. I didn't think it would even come in. And you got what was the fucking film with the crayon?
Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach Levi. That's on my actual list. Zach Levi's going to be nominated for actor.
I seen
for
Imaginary
sure, yeah.
and I was like, no, that's not what I'm thinking of. What's the one
Oh,
with the fucking...
Imaginary's on my list.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the crayon.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
going.
yeah.
In, I'm putting that whatever.
Buying stocks in Purple Crayon, small out low.
Borderlands is this year, you know.
Yeah, but Borderlands is just like crap in the way that we get crap every year.
Yeah, but that's what was, you know, everything. Rebel Moon Part 2,
That's on my list.
is it?
Yeah.
I don't think that'll be there. I don't think that'll pop up.
It'll be padding, I think.
Yeah. I think I said The Apprentice might get one,
Which is a very good shout. Yeah, I think The
Not on
Apprentice is
Netflix,
a fine movie with like a great performance, but it could be an Orange Man bad reaction.
well, Unfrosted's coming up here, the Pop Tart one.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's horrendous.
Miller's
yeah.
Girl, I've never heard of. Have you heard of Martin Freeman and Jen?
Martin Freeman, Jen Ortega. Yeah, that's the age gap one.
There's quite a lot of films here that I haven't even heard about. So, Driveway Dolls was last year, wasn't it?
How dare you? Yeah.
Give it to the Coen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, again, there's not many that scream Razzies, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm going with my Joker.
Well, what does scream Razzies? And because in previous years it would have been Joker because you're like it's the
If it
biggest
was on the
active
Showgirl,
hubris.
it's on the Showgirls.
Like it's what
striptease.
200 million
Yeah.
budget and like you're following up a $1 billion record breaking phenomenon and everyone's so excited about Lady Gaga and then
Yeah.
she's not in it and it loses. It's the most classic Razzie
It is,
film,
it's all the
but we're in a
formulas.
new era, so I don't know.
I'm going to hope Mr. Razzie's stuck in the past and
That's why, Francis, you can't beat the allure
hope he
of
liked
someone
being-
who's won Best Picture
Yeah.
for The Godfather.
But he
taking home a
left
golden
he left
raspberry.
Francis off in the 90s. I ranted about that during the 90s. Jack never came up and all this, you know.
Oh, he wasn't problematic, back then, Kyle. He wasn't making out with extras.
That's true.
Yeah. So get in touch with us. Let us know what you think the contenders for the coming year are going to be. If there's anything that you really want me and Kyle to watch, I think I said this on the last episode, but
So
yeah,
every episode.
send it along. and we will possibly cover it for an episode. I might watch it. I might give you my thoughts. Kyle, I might harangue Kyle into watching it. And so we can be contacted at watchingworstfilms@gmail.com. And you can find us on social media where we are Watching Worst. And we're going to be back to you, like, I don't know, we'll probably do something over Christmas.
You can definitely find a Christmas Razzie-worthy fun film.
Yeah.
Santa Claus 3. Full circle.
Yeah. So look out for us then. Also, get in touch with us with specials. If there's any ideas, anything that you desperately want us to cover, then give us your suggestions. And that might be our next episode. So yeah, we will see you next time I'm in Aberdeen.
Peace out, everybody.